All right. Hey, everybody. Will here with Broudy Tennis, and I've got JC Freeman here. He is a head tennis coach in Birmingham, Alabama, also a college D1 tennis player and a former teammate of mine. Hey, JC, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. Good to speak with you, Will. How are you doing?
Awesome. Doing really well. So, JC, why don't you start out and just tell us a little bit, I guess, about yourself, how you ventured onto kind of the tennis scene and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started playing tennis when I was 7 years old in Montgomery, Alabama. That's where I'm from, and really fell in love with the sport. Played a few other sports till I was about 13 or 14, and then really uh, chose tennis as my main sport and buckled down and really prioritized my tennis. Played a lot of southern level tournaments, local tournaments, state level tournaments, competed nationally, and then was fortunate enough to earn a scholarship to play college tennis at Birmingham Southern College. And after that, that was a great experience. Went on to what I thought was going to go to law school and decided to teach tennis. And law school apparently was not my path to take, and I'm currently teaching tennis. I've been teaching tennis since 2010 professionally. So
Awesome.
there you go.
Awesome. I don't even
Yeah,
think I knew that whole story.
there you
So,
go.
so you've been teaching for 7 years. You said what types of skill levels are you teaching for the most part? Is it kind of a beginners, intermediate, advanced, a mix of everything?
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty healthy mix of all levels of players, and I enjoy working with all levels of players. So I try to keep an open mind. I think from a coaching standpoint, it's really good to appreciate all types of players and levels of players, because that's how you continue to learn as a coach, and it makes you a better coach being able to translate information to every different type of level of player. So
Sure.
really love working with anybody.
Cool. Absolutely. Um,
Yeah.
so over the years, you've I imagine transitioned the kind of your coaching style a little bit, especially after kind of stumbling upon Jack Brody's tennis system. Can you tell us, I guess, how did you find Jack's tennis system? How is it? How were you teaching before, and then like how's it changed the way you teach now?
Yeah, it was kind of fate, I felt like, because I'm subscribed to a bunch of different types of email lists that, provide tennis instruction. So I'm really plugged in, always trying to learn. And I just happened to get this email from Jack Broudy, and I read it, and it just really resonated with me. And I think my teaching style traditionally had been the traditional game of tennis, a very linear game of tennis. I recognized a good player when I saw one, but I felt kind of lost most of the time. And I read this email from Jack. It resonated with me. I got involved and learned his program and his system. And it's literally just been a complete eye-opening experience. And it's not even really fair knowing this stuff, because it has made my life and my job and my coaching and my students' games just much more easier, more fun, and effortless. And it's really just been an incredible experience overall for everybody involved.
That's awesome. That's great. So,
Yeah.
how
Exciting.
is it? How is this system different than other kind of coaching methodologies that you've seen online or seen in person or used in the past?
Yeah, I think what makes it unique is it's an actual system, and there's a science behind it. I like to think of what I was doing in the past was I was observationally teaching. I saw things that good players did, but I knew this. I didn't really understand. I thought I understood why they did it, but I obviously didn't understand it as well as I thought I did. And so I would teach it, and I found myself teaching style to people, and then I'd be teaching somebody to do something, and then I would see another good player and they weren't doing the same thing. And that kind of bothered me. So just having Jack's system and knowing the science behind things, it really allows me to know what not to teach is almost more important than knowing what to teach. And so that way I get to focus on what's really important with my players. And that's just really turned my coaching style upside down. And again, the results have been just incredible. And it's an easier way of coaching. It's an easier way of playing. And, my students are happy, and therefore I'm happier. So
that's awesome. That's great. So do you have an example of maybe a student who you were teaching before? They might have struggled with maybe a backhand, forehand serve, maybe their whole game, and then you started implementing some of these methodologies, and kind of tell us a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, I guess the first person that comes to mind is actually a kid that I work with who's very talented. And, we had been working on a bunch of different things like traditional methods, and they were getting better, but I felt like they weren't taking that jump to the next level. And you could see kind of the frustration. I mean, he's a great kid, so he didn't want to admit to me that he was frustrated. But you could see it and you could feel it, and we experienced that frustration during lessons. And again, he was getting better, but it was really more so that he was getting better just because he was working so hard, right? He was so passionate and enthusiastic. And he specifically struggled with his backhand. He hit his backhand very flat. To use like a specific stroke example, his backhand was very flat. He had a great forehand naturally, but never felt confident with his backhand. Was introduced to Jack's system, learned it, used it, applied it, and his progress and improvement and just his overall excitement and enjoyment for the game has just skyrocketed. And this was probably 6 months ago, so not even that long ago. And I've been working with him for a few years now. And he has gone from almost liking his backhand more than his forehand. And he's been able to, which is pretty rare, right? I mean, most people prefer their forehand over their backhand. And he's just gone from hitting a flat, kind of muscled, stiff, mechanical stroke to just a fluid, easy-looking, effortless backhand. And the ball he produces is a heavy ball. It's accurate. And he's hitting a better shot with less effort. And I mean that in the best way possible. So that's what comes to mind, yeah.
That's great. That's a good story. So you mentioned yourself as a player too. How's the Broudy Tennis System helped you as a player versus kind of where you were before and where you are now?
Yeah, it sheds so much light on the game, and it makes, it's almost re-energized my passion for the game, not only as a coach, but as a player, because instead of me looking at coaching as just coaching, it's been, hey, I get to go hit tennis balls and kind of work on my game while hitting tennis balls with my students. And I get to do that while I coach, which is killing two birds with one stone in my mind. So I've started playing more again. A direct example would be, you used to not be able to pay me to play tennis outside of my lessons. And now I have 2 hitting sessions that I've scheduled regularly with one of our other assistant pros in my club because I'm just excited again. So, yeah, and if I'd had this stuff when I was younger, I don't think it would have even been fair, not because of my ability, but because the system has been that good. It really has. So,
yeah.
I feel like a kid again. I feel like a kid again myself.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was
I'm
hitting.
30. I'm 30 years old, and I feel so. I know
Yeah,
30 is really old, but it's. I feel like I'm a teenager again on the court. It's been awesome.
yeah, yeah. That's funny. That's I was hitting just yesterday, and I think one of the great things about this system is that anytime you're getting frustrated with a particular stroke, you're able to refer back to this system and go back to kind of first principles, and you know it's going to get fixed every time. Whereas the old way that I thought about tennis, you know, if I was having issues with my backhand, which is historically what I do have trouble with, I don't know what to do. I just like keep trying harder. But yesterday I was hitting and struggling with my backhand, and I took a water break, thought about the system, thought about the the figure eight and the curves and things like that, and I went back out there and just kind of went through the motions on my backhand and fixed it in just one changeover, and it felt so much better. And it's just so much more exciting to do that. So I can definitely relate.
Yeah, I think like hearing you say like I felt better. Like feel is so big in any sport, and the system has allowed people to feel the right way to do things, the best way to do things, and it's just obvious when you feel that good doing something, it's a no-brainer, and you know it's the right way. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, not surprised. Yeah, that's awesome.
So one more question here. So what would you say to someone who is let's say a coach of juniors or seniors at let's go with juniors, a junior level coach who's trying to get their kids to improve? How would you say that the Broudy Tennis System might be able to help them?
It makes things easy in a good way. It makes things easy, and it's such a relief. As a coach, it's tough. Coaching is not the most stressful job in the world, but you are responsible for a kid's well-being and their happiness and their future, so to speak, because you get kids who love the sport, they want to really improve in it, and at it, and there's even potentially college scholarships on the line, right? So, I think kind of the example I think of is when I'm coaching a kid and they play a really good player in a tournament, and I used to say this, they would lose, right? And maybe they even played really well. And so I would literally find myself saying these words. I'd say, so-and-so, you played really great. You played really well, knowing that they probably played the best they could, and just trying to stay positive and shake it off, but thinking in the back of my head, literally they played a kid who just hits the tennis ball better than them. They move better than them. They understand the geometry and the strategy of the game better than them. And I felt kind of this void, like, here I am, and I'm saying, I'm trying to claim that I'm this person's coach, this kid's coach, and I don't know if I really know how to teach them how to hit the ball better, as much as even so just hitting it as well as these great kids. I know these great kids are doing something. They're doing something unique. You can see it, but I didn't know it.
So you weren't sure like what to do next?
Yeah, I didn't understand it. I mean, I could tell them, I couldn't give them any information that another coach couldn't give them, and that was a problem to me. And that's kind of why, that's how I stumbled upon Jack's system. So just being able to, if you, as a coach, if you've ever had that experience where you feel like your kid played the best they could ever play and they're still losing, it's, hey, you've got to be able to, as a coach, teach them how to hit the ball better, to really hit the ball better, and to do it effortlessly. And Jack's system does that. It does that. And when it's different, right? So you kind of have to stick your neck out there. But nothing good ever came easy. And I did it. And, I got some different looks, but nobody's looking at me like that anymore. It's all, hey, what is this guy doing? Where'd you get this stuff? So I know that's a lot of information, but you're able to teach your kids how to hit the tennis ball better, how to move better, how to do everything better. And it just really levels the playing field. And so you don't have to just tell a kid, hey, keep your head up, just keep working hard, and not take the blame for not being able to teach them how to hit the ball better. You literally can say, hey, I know how to make you hit the ball better, how to get you to hit the ball better. We're going to do this, this, and this. We're going to use Jack's system. And they start getting those results, and they start beating those kids. At least that's been my experience. So, again, a lot of information. But, excuse me, I get very excited and pumped up about this system because it's been incredible, really.
Awesome.
I've been looking for this system. I've been as a player, not only as a coach, but I've been playing tennis for 20 years. I've been looking for this for 20 years. I've been looking for this my whole life, basically, my whole tennis life. And I feel like I have found it,
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, JC, thanks for joining us, and we'll look forward to continuing to hear the progress for yourself and your students in the future.
Anytime. Thank you, Will. Good chatting with you.
Thanks a lot.